Planning and Zoning Commission for April 12th, public hearing, for April 12th, 2021. Can I get a roll call, please, Mr. Natale?
Yes, Mr. Kurtz.
Here.
Mr. Strollo.
Here.
Mr. Natale, yes, I'm here. Mr. Mercado.
Here.
Mr. Bowman. Mr. Dawson. Mr. Carderas.
Here.
Mr. Linder.
Here.
Mr. Tedisco.
Here.
Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Ms. Downs. Mr. Selmont.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Everybody want to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and
to the republic
for which it stands,
one
One
nation.
nation.
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first order of business tonight is a subdivision application of Pabco Incorporated, Jarvis Street, 4 lots. Do we have a call for that, please?
We do. The subdivision application of Pabco Inc., care of Ryan E. Thompson, PE, 19 Pepper Bush Drive, Clinton, Connecticut, 06413, in a 4-lot subdivision property located on Jarvis Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410, as generally shown on Assessor's Map number 26, lot number 66, in an R40 zone.
Thank you. And representing the applicant tonight?
Yeah, I'm Ryan Thompson.
Hi, Ryan, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Would you like
Mr.
to
Chairman,
give us-
if I may, I have comments to the fire department. I'd like to read them to the record at the top. No big deal.
Please do. Please do.
To Cheshire Planning and Zoning Department, dated April 9th, 2021, from Jack Kasner, Chief, and Mike Kozlowski, Fire Marshal. The fire department has reviewed the above application for the planning and zoning process. We recommend the following comments and stipulations. This application is approved. Code compliant plans must be submitted to the building official and fire marshal's office prior to construction. The driveways will need to be cleared 15 feet in height and 15 feet wide, paved due to the difficult topography and length of proposed driveways to allow for emergency vehicle access. Those are the only comments from the fire department. We do have comments that were outstanding from the engineering department. We've given you copies of those. We are awaiting resolution of those comments. There's some 21 comments in all. We don't need to read those into the record. They are part of the record. Applicants will be submitting revised plans prior to the next meeting, but wish to make their opening presentation tonight.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mr. Thompson, you want to give us a brief explanation of what's going on?
Yeah, sure. So this is an irregularly shaped parcel, about 9.5 acres roughly. It's extremely steep terrain and topography, as I'm sure you're aware. Generally speaking, there's a large hill in the center of the property, and that is the most challenging part of, oh, okay, good. Yes, if you could actually scroll to the next sheet from this.
This
Yep.
one?
This one, yes, the top,
Yeah.
yep, too far right. Yeah, right here. Okay, so you can see it's probably hard on the screen, but in the very center of the site where you have the contour lines that are going up to the top of the hill, that big hill and ridge line is the most complicated part of the site. So in order to develop this property, you have to address the large hill in the middle there. We looked at several different configurations of lots. Before I go into that, over there on the north, so the left side of the page, there's an outlot. That is actually a septic system that's in favor of what used to be the Curtis home, which is approximately 1,000 feet, along Jarvis to the southeast. Yeah, can you scroll out there? Yeah.
Can't do much with it. My
Yeah.
computer here won't let me do a lot with it, but the
Well,
outlot is here, 1.22 acres.
If you want, I can share my screen. I think I can zoom in a little bit easier and if that's possible.
Now, let's do it this way, Ryan.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Commission has this, by the way, so they also have copies of this for themselves.
Okay. All right. Well, but you can see it here where just a second ago, you can see the outlot. That's a deeded, or not a deeded, an easement that's been granted to the former Curtis Home school, basically up the road there on Jarvis Street. And they have a line, and you can see the easement along Jarvis Street by lots 3 and 4.
Right here.
Though that also is for their septic system line that goes to their field on outlot 1. So the intent is that's going to be deeded over to them.
It is
So
here.
it becomes their property, and it's not saddled onto a future homeowner, which I don't even think is legal. So yeah, there you can see it. But back to the topography. Again, the big issue with this site is the fact that you have this major hill in the middle of the property that has to be dealt with. So we looked at several different configurations, a 5-lot subdivision, a potential 6-lot subdivision, and then ultimately a 4-lot subdivision like we have now. Primarily, we settled on this 4-lot subdivision because it is the least invasive in terms of excavation. And already you have a fairly significant amount of excavation. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's several, about approximately 40,000 cubic yards of export that's going to have to go on. And I'll talk about kind of the plan to make sure that that's done safely in just a second. But this is the one that has the least impact. And you can see the very big cut up the ridge line to the middle of the hill. That's at a 4-to-1 slope, a 4-to-1, 4-foot horizontal to 1-foot rise at vertical elevation. So I tried to make it as gradual as I possibly could so that it would be easier on erosion control measures, and we wouldn't have to do a bunch of stepped benches and everything. There's still some of the comments that we got from the engineering review. They do want a little bit more erosion control, and that's fine. I think the comments are, none of them are significantly challenging to address. And so I will address those and resubmit the plans. But that was made gradual for a couple of reasons. One, reduce the amount of cut. 2, to reduce the erosion potential. And 3, to also just make it more aesthetically pleasing, so you didn't have this large industrial looking cut in the residential neighborhood. Down on the western part, or the bottom part of the screen, which is lot 1, that lot has a little bit steeper, and that's just because it just doesn't work to go any flatter on that uphill part from the driveway, because then you start getting into issues where you're crossing over the boundary line, and you just obviously can't do that. You end up chasing the hill up over the top of the ridge line, and then there's no rights to grade on that adjacent property. So it's a 2-to-1, 2-foot horizontal to 1-foot vertical slope there, and as you can see, it's fairly high, but it's not as imposing as it looks. It's just kind of shaving the hillside down a little bit. It's not a massive cut. So if you were able to zoom in, and I know you all have this in front of you, you could see that the contour the lines between the proposed and the existing contour is actually just a few feet different. So you're just shaving it off a little bit. It's already at basically a 2-to-1 slope. We're making it a 2-to-1 slope, but just pushing it in slightly. And then there's going to be some fill. So every opportunity was taken on this property to use the material on site before we excavated and put it back on site. And that's largely done in lot 4, where you can see we're kind of building out a little building pad shelf for the house there. And then we still have to address the stormwater management, but that fill goes into that area, and then it goes into lot 1 to build a little shelf in the kind of natural, featured drainage kind of divide coming down off the hill. So we're filling that a little bit to create a shelf to put the house, trying to balance out the elevation of the house, keeping driveway grades, within reason. I do know there's some comments about the driveway grades, but the intent is that they're all 10%. And so I will, that's the intent of the driveway grades, and to get the elevations where they need. And that's why you have this long driveway on lot 1 coming out to Moss Farms Road, so that you can get a gradual enough rise up to the house pad, and then you have the same kind of thing with the lots 2 and 3. You have these long gradual driveways is the idea. If we could go on down to, so I want to talk about the export and just, making sure that we have a safe situation with the trucks coming in and out of the property. The idea is that they would be limited to only really 2 locations. Actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, just stay on that one real quick.
Yeah.
Limited to 2 locations. And those locations would be, obviously you have to treat lot 1 as its own. So that all the earthwork in and out of there. And of course, most of this is balanced as much as possible. So it should be a reduction of trucks coming in and out of there, but it's going to come that one spot onto Moss Farms Road. And then the rest of the site is going to be addressed in the wider area on Moss Farms Road where the driveways are going into 2 and 3, trying to avoid the any access onto Jarvis Street itself, because you have steep grades in both directions and you have the very difficult turn there. So all of the access in and out of the site would be from the Moss Farms Road side, one of those 2 locations. And then and one of the reasons too why you end up having the cuts that you do is so you can almost build a little access road over to the lot 3 building pad and the lot 4 area that you're moving earthwork around on. So that's the idea of how it all unfolded in terms of the design and the kind of the sequence of construction. And I do realize there's a comment about that, which I'm going to add a couple of a sheet or 2 to kind of clear that up, making sure it's understood that basically that's how the earthwork is going to be moving in and out of those locations, so that it's safe and and manageable. And then if you go down to the next page, or I'm sorry, the last page. The last. Yeah.
This?
No. The fifth sheet. The one with the profiles. Yep.
Yeah.
This
one?
No. Sheet number 5. So the last sheet in the drawing set.
Let it load. That's what I have right there.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. So these 4 driveway profiles, I specifically put them on here. So she did not driveway, they're site distance profiles. I specifically put them on here to show, it looks like some information is missing.
That's all I have.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll have to see why this is all you have. This,
You better talk to the guy that sent them to me, Ryan, okay?
yeah, okay. I guess what got submitted physically, it's the information is on there, but regardless, I don't need it for what we're talking about tonight. I can just tell you these driveway profiles, and actually I'm going to pull it up on my screen. So I'm just going to minimize this real quick so I can zoom in on it myself while I'm talking. All right, so here we go. Okay. So what you have is I've done the calculation based on the grades and the stopping site distance, and it came out to a calculated stopping site distance requirement of 152 feet. I upped that to 200 feet in each direction for a factor of safety. So you basically have a field of view in both directions of spanning 400 feet. And what these profiles are showing you is that if you were sitting at the driveway inside where, you know, you're not, the front of your vehicle is not overhanging into the street, so you're sitting there in a safe location, you can look left and right and you can see a vehicle coming at a speed of 25 miles per hour, which is the posted speed on that road, on the roads. And you can see them 200 feet away, which gives the driver coming towards that intersection adequate time to stop if a truck were to start pulling out. So you could see each of those driveways achieves 200 feet of sight distance in both directions. And that's from an elevation of the eye of the driver of 3.5 feet above the surface of the road, and an elevation of the object of 3.5 feet that they're looking at. So again, you can see it's all of them have the sight distance requirements there, and so that does make it a safe ingress and egress into the site for trucks coming in and out. And for future, once the project is complete, for the drivers of the homes, the homeowners, when they're coming out, they're also in a safe situation. You can also see, and this might be hard, but driveway 4 sight distance profile is the one that's the least favorable, because you actually are looking uphill in both directions. And that's why I decided that the ingress and egress during construction would be from the Moss Farms Road side. So the only other thing I'd like to talk about before I kind of hand it over to questions is the drainage. So I put this in my narrative, but I'm just going to briefly explain that lot 1 is the one that's a little bit more of a challenge because there's not a whole lot you can do with the runoff coming off of there. And it doesn't tie into the other side. However, this entire property essentially drains into 2 different areas. So the southern, if you will, part of the mountain, or the southeastern part of the mountain or hill, I guess it's not technically a mountain, generally drains to the east of the property, and then into a creek on the eastern side of Jarvis, and then continues on. The northern part of the property generally drains to the western side, and ultimately drains into a confluence with the drainage from the southern part. So they all ultimately end up in the same place, but they do it through 2 different pathways. Well, actually, technically 3 different pathways, but I've broken it down into 2 main outfalls. So what I did was I kind of created 2 infiltration basins to treat and capture the runoff from the 2 main pathways that we're addressing. And one of them is sized to accommodate runoff from lot 1, even though runoff from lot 1 won't go through there. So what you do is you have a net reduction of runoff from the part of the property that's going into the infiltration basin on lot 1 to accommodate for the runoff that we cannot capture coming off of, I'm sorry, not lot 1, lot 4, to accommodate the runoff we can't capture on lot 1. It's probably more clear if you read the narrative that I explain, or at least I hope it's more clear, but that's the intent, to achieve a reduction in runoff for the total site, and it does do that. And I do recognize that there are also a couple of comments in that regard, which are, again, not complicated or difficult to address, and I will address those in the coming week or so. So that's my presentation. I'm going to go back to the meeting here, get out of this, and I'm going to, I guess, stop there and open it up to any questions that you might have.
Mr. Thompson, I'm the clerk, Marilyn Milton. I have a question. What company are you with?
I'm self-employed. I have my own company. It's RCL Thompson LLC.
What
Yep.
is it again?
RCL Thompson LLC.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay,
Commission members, questions on the application? Mr. Nat-
Yeah, can you do me a favor? Can you go over, Bill, I don't know if you can bring up the map again. Just go over the outlot 1 again. I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. So I understand the septic system is on that lot for a property that is going to be 2 or 3 properties up the road, and you're going to have an easement through those properties for the septic?
Yeah, so the septic system on that portion of this existing property before subdivision is already built and has been there for a number of years. I don't remember exactly when this was built and constructed, but it's some number of years back. They had obtained an easement through this property to put a pipe and then basically create, so the easement through, right there. And then the larger kind of, almost square shaped, outlot is where their septic field is. So the idea is that we're just going to cut that off, that portion of the property that was already granted through an easement, and just deed it over to that property owner that it benefits, and it becomes their property. It's not the property of the future homeowners of this, because they have nothing going to it. None of these 4 lots that are being created are tying into that septic system in any way, and they shouldn't, have to maintain that property and maintain those easements, and I'm not even sure that the health department would allow it. So that little piece there, that outlot, would be cut off and deeded over and become the property of, I don't think it's called the Curtis home anymore, but
it's the Curtis Home property.
Yeah.
And what Ryan points out, Jeff, you couldn't even do this today. This is historic. I don't know when it was originally constructed. Public Health Code wouldn't allow this today, ever. So,
Gotcha. So the Curtis home, where would that be? That would be the next property up from
No,
Lot
they're
4?
about 850 feet east of 725 Dart Street. They're up here. They're off the map.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost across Guinevere Ridge, Jeff.
Yes, they're on the next ridge line up, correct.
And again, it would just be an easement going across these new lots.
Yeah,
You get to
lots
this-
3 and 4. Jeff, there's an easement in the front there that for the location and maintenance, not by the owners of lot 3 and 4, but by the owners of the septic system that's currently on that property. So.
Okay.
Very
Just haven't
unusual.
seen that before. That's a
Rarely
new
see
one, sir.
anything like this.
That's a new one for me, so thanks.
Okay, I believe I saw Mr. Selmont with a hand up.
Yeah, I just had a question. I see all the excavation going on, and you started to hit on the water flow. Is there any concern of the water running into the neighbors, the neighbor properties or neighbor lots? Any issues there that might arise?
No, so all of the drainage that's currently, let me back up. No, I've followed it, as much as feasible, the existing natural drainage, divides. So any runoff that's already coming off of the property that's not part of this development, yes, that will continue to cross neighboring properties, on the fringes or outskirts of the property. Anything that's being touched here on this is either being captured by the infiltration basins or is running off into, in one case, the culvert on Jarvis Street as an overflow, or the culvert on Moss Farms as an overflow. So it's not going into the neighboring properties. It's being captured in the infiltrations, or it's being captured in the existing storm sewer system that's out there.
Right, okay. I see lot 2 and 4 with the basins and, you know, I also see that there's a couple of houses on the corners of the street, but it's, you know, one
Yeah,
thing.
Yes, so right there along on lot 3, the kind of the cut on the side of the driveway, that's actually, it's a cut. So anything coming from that's going to go towards the property, not towards the neighbor.
Right, okay,
Yep,
thank you.
no problem.
Bill, you said there was supposed to be new maps.
Yeah, we're gonna wait, we're gonna keep this hearing open, EJ, because he's got extensive comments to respond to yet, hasn't done that. So,
The question
we're
is,
recommending you continue this hearing until the next meeting.
I understand it's definitely gonna be continued, but is there big changes in the maps or is it just a minor
No,
things?
there are some, he addressed some of it tonight. I don't think we're gonna see significant changes as far as layout goes.
Okay.
What we'll see is improvements in some of the things that he's proposing here, but generally what you see in terms of layout is what you should expect to see in 2 weeks.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, to be honest, I think the biggest change that I predict is going to be associated grading with widening these driveways to 15 feet per the fire department comments. And really, that's only going to affect, it's going to affect the most lot 1 because that grading is pretty tight up to the driveways there as it is. But it's not going to be, you know, significant change to this. I think what you're going to see is I'm going to add in a few more notes. I'm going to change the calculations for the stormwater management based on comments there. I'm going to address some erosion control concerns that came up, and that's largely the concerns that that we have in the comments from the engineering review.
okay, thank you. Bill, do we have any public comment on this?
No, Mr. Chairman,
Nothing?
no.
Commission members, run through one last time before, this is gonna be held open, so.
Well,
Question- Yes, Mr. Tedesco.
Mr. Thompson, can you tell us approximately how many truckloads of fill will be taken off the property and over what period of time?
Well, I guess it really depends on the size of the trucks, but I can tell you it's about 40,000 cubic yards, which, over the span of, I don't want to speak on behalf of the developer in terms of their timeline. So I don't know exactly when they're going to build which lot and which pieces are going to be done first. But so it'd be hard for me to answer in this meeting, to be completely honest with you, how long this would take, how many, over what period of time. But, you're talking about 40,000 cubic yards, and the average truck, I think, trucks are about 20 cubic yards or 22 cubic yards. So, number of trucks.
Well, the reason I ask is because they're probably going to some extent through residential neighborhoods, and there'll be trucks going up and down streets, whether it be 10 trucks an hour or 2 trucks an hour. Just trying to get some sense of what the neighbors can expect.
I think that, well, again, I don't want to speculate, too much, but I think there's going to be a period when there's going to be a larger amount of earthwork while they're doing the initial, site prep. And during that time, you probably will have a period of time where you've got 2 or 3 trucks, going out, maybe going an hour. But that's going to be, again, it's really up to their scheduling, and that's not part of, my planning with them. So I don't want to speak for their timeline if that's okay. I can tell you the volumes, but that's probably, I think, the extent of what I'm able to say right at this moment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other commission members with questions? Okay, I don't see any. So this will be held open until the 2 weeks, whatever the next meeting is.
26.
Thank you very much. Moving on, I was recused from the Moss Farms Road, or not Moss Farms Road, the Marion Road property, so Mr. Strollo is going to take over on this one.
Okay, number 2, the re-subdivision application of Papco Inc., Marion Road, revision of street line. Can you get the call, please?
Yes, the re-subdivision application of Papco Inc., care of Darren Overton, SLR Consulting, 99 Realty Drive, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410 for a revision of the street line property located on Marion Road, as generally shown on Assessor's Map number 16, lot number 10 in an R40 zone.
And who will be representing the applicant?
I'll be representing the applicant. Paul
Okay.
Bowman,
An address, please, Paul.
387 Mount Sanford Road, Cheshire.
Thank you. Proceed.
So the application before you is to change the roadway further to the north based on some calculations in a bit of a change in the square footage that was allowed for the initial road. There was a 45 square foot mistake that we had to re-engineer, and we had to move the road further to the north because of that. And
Mr. Chairman, if I may, what you have really is a technical amendment, and I did spell out for you why this is a re-subdivision. It's a statutory anomaly. It's a really simple modification to the street line. It'll make up for a sightline easement and to get the proper radius at the intersection without having to incorporate any other additional properties into it. It's a minor anomaly and is really insignificant in terms of, doesn't change the original subdivision as it was approved, except for modifying the street line of the proposed road. So,
Okay, as long as it's all, any other commission members have any questions before we go to the public?
Yeah, Mr. Bowman, just clarify, I believe when the original application came in, the sight lines were massive, so you had no issues there. So changing it just a little bit is not going to affect those sight lines, correct?
that's correct. Will not impact the sightlines at all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Really can't see. Okay. Anyone from the public?
we have nothing on this, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll close this hearing. Thank you. Move on. Go ahead, EJ.
I'm moving on. Number 3, special permit application, James Norbeck, 1200 Avon Boulevard for an accessory apartment. We hear the call for that, please?
Yes, the special permit application of Janet E. Norback, care of Thomas Norback, 383 Gunner Court, Cheshire, Connecticut, for an accessory apartment property located at 1200 Avon Boulevard, Cheshire, Connecticut, 06410, is generally shown on Assessor's Map number 84, lot number 214 in an R20 zone.
Thank you. And the applicant on this, or comments on this?
Yeah, Tom Norback is here, Mr. Chair. If I just set it up for Tom's benefit, it's a accessory apartment coming in for a special permit. We did include a copy of a variance that was granted for this property back in 1980, prior to the adoption of our special permit regulations, as familiar as we are now with them as a special permit. The ZBA put a requirement on it. They come back every 5 years, just like we have now in our conditions for renewal. The applicant, the owners of the property never did. The apartment was built legally. There was a sign off from the zoning enforcement officer. I believe Mr. Norback is attempting to sell the property and would like to keep the accessory apartment there. And we have advised him to apply for the special permit, viewing this as the sort of cleanest way of overcoming a variance that, with a time limit on that has expired, get the special permit. The application is completely compliant with your regulations as amended. It's a 500 square foot unit. You know, we allow up to 950 square feet. And we have no outstanding comments from the Cheshire Fire Department. There's no issues at all on this. It's really an existing condition. And Mr. Norback is asking you to accommodate with a special permit. Tom, anything you'd like to add? Go ahead, please.
No, that really pretty much it in a nutshell. We're just looking to keep it approved or reapprove it, I guess, to help with marketability of the property.
Okay. Zoning Board of Appeals, is it because it was so old that we didn't have a
Well,
regular?
yeah, what we discovered when Tom called me originally, we did a little research on this and we discovered that it was pretty common before 1980 for people who wish to build an accessory apartment to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals and get a variance with, we don't want to speak to that as good or bad practice, which we know which it is. But the problem is that they put a condition of approval on it with having to renew it every 5 years, and they failed to do that. And that's not meant to be a criticism, but it's a variance, which, by the way, variances shouldn't have time limits on them anyway, in accordance with real good land use law, expired. The apartment didn't go away, and what Tom wants to do really is have it blessed and approved. So he has an approval now that's renewable and transferable, and that's what he's asking you to do. We have no issues with this. It's completely compliant with the regulations. And I'd rather you just look at it as an ordinary special permit application for a accessory apartment. So.
Sounds good. Any questions by commission members? Mr. Brocato?
Fire alarms, is it compliant that way where it's the smoke detectors are tied in with the rest of the house?
No, Tommy, I don't know if you have alarms.
I got to tell you, it was back in 1980. The building codes were different, but I can tell you that it is certainly built to code from 1980, and it has fire and smoke detectors in it. And my best guess is that it's probably the battery operated ones that are traditional in a house that was built in 1952 or 3.
So they're not hardwired and not linked. I know the fire department is choosing not to comment on this one, Rob, because it's an existing condition. So he's not installing it, it's there. So.
Any other commission members with questions? I'm assuming no public
No,
comment on this?
Mr. Chairman, no comments.
Okay, I'm going to close this public hearing. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn the public hearing, please?
So moved.
Mr. Kaderis, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Brocato. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Moving on, I'd like to call to order the planning and zoning special meeting for April 12th, 2021.
EJ, could I just get a minute to get my paperwork? I'm a little
Sure, go ahead.
behind.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. That's okay.
Ready.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm all set. All
Okay.
right.
Can I get a motion to accept the minutes from our regular meeting on March 22nd, 2021?
Motion
So
to
moved.
approve both.
Moved by Mr. Natale, seconded by Mr. Kaderis. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, we do not have Mr. Bowman here. We do not have Mr. Dawson here. And so we will have Mr. Anderson and Mr. Selmont take their place on the voting. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Under communications, because of the people around here, I'd like to put that off to the end of the meeting if that's possible. It'll only be a couple minutes.
Sure.
I'd like to go to unfinished business. Pabco, we held open to the next one. A re-subdivision application of Pabco for Marion Road. Mr. Stroll can take that. I think we have a motion for that.
I do, Mr. Chairman.
The number
Cheshire
2.
Planning and Zoning Commission find that the proposed re-subdivision resulting in the revision of an approved street line for Balsam Place is consistent with the requirements of the Cheshire subdivision regulations, Cheshire zoning regulations as shown on plans entitled re-subdivision map McKinley Estates Residential Subdivision 145 Marion Road, Cheshire, Connecticut, revised through March 22nd, 2021, and hereby approve this application.
Move staff's wording.
Second by Mr. Tintali. Okay. Discussion.
Mr. Sterling, just a point for clarification for Ms. Milton, with Mr. Bowman, Mr. Dawson absent, Mr. Kurtz abstaining, we will have 7 commissioners and 2 alternates, and Mr. Anderson and Mr. Selmont.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Any other discussion with anybody before we vote? Okay, all those in favor of the application as it is, signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, unanimous, 9-0. Thanks, EJ.
Okay,
Clarify, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, just clarify, that's 800.
What?
That the count was 8. We have 8 commissioners voting on that.
I'm sorry, Jeff. Yes, 800.
Well, you have 2 members absent and 2 alternates, correct?
We have 2 members all absent and Mr. Kurtz abstaining or recusing himself.
So it'll be 801, wouldn't it?
801.
801, that's why I'm questioning it. Thank you.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Number 3, special permit application, Janet Norback, 1200 Avon Boulevard. We have a motion for that.
I do, Mr. Chairman. The Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission find that the proposed accessory apartment at 1200 Avon Boulevard, as shown on plans presented by the applicant, is consistent with the requirements set forth in Section 30, Schedule A, Item 5 of the Cheshire zoning regulations, and hereby approve this application.
Move staff's wording.
Moved by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Brucato. Any discussion on this motion? Seems pretty easy. Just granting him the right to continue to have his accessory apartment.
Yep.
All those in favor, we'll have the same people voting that we had from Maryland from
Right,
the pre.
from the minutes? Yep.
Yes. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. New business, request to waive public hearing for Nozzle Properties, South Main Street.
We've got 2 items there, Mr. Chairman, and the applicant has given me a letter of communication from their attorney Fazone. Requested waive the public hearing. This is the Starbucks application is being reviewed by the State Department of Transportation. Wants them to make some internal changes in the parking lot over there. So they are amendments to the special permit they will have to return for you to review. But the applicant, I'm going to read their letter. Nozzle Properties of South Main Street LLC, special permit approval February 8, 2021. Dear Commission members, on February 8, 2021, the Commission approved the special permit application of Nozzle Properties of South Main Street LLC for a Starbucks coffee shop with a drive-through. The plans had previously been submitted to the Connecticut Department of Transportation, DOT, for review. DOT is now requesting a change to the internal traffic patterns. The applicant, along with this letter, submitted an application to modify the special permit, which includes a revised site plan showing the required changes, by the way, which we will not be discussing tonight. Please make the record in the original application part of the modification approval pursuant to Section 40.8. Revisions of the special permit regulations. We're requesting that the Commission review and approve the revisions without a public hearing, which has done this in the past where there's been modifications to special permit applications, and that's what they're asking you to do. And that is in accordance with your zoning regulations, Section 40.8.
Bill, who wrote that letter?
Attorney Fazone, and it's dated April 5th, 2021.
Thank you.
Okay, I know we can't discuss what it is, but or discuss what DOT is looking for. You can clarify for me that it's definitely internal on the site, nothing to do with the
Yeah, there's
road.
nothing on the street. It's all internal.
Okay.
Doesn't that affect what happens with traffic? I think we'd want to see something about this before we determine whether we're not going to have a public hearing. or not.
Well, you'll have a public presentation on it, Rob. He's not asking you to act on it. He's asking you to consider it, and you will get a presentation on it. His traffic engineer will present. What he's asking you to do is to waive the public hearing requirement for the amendments to the plan.
But usually we do that. We know what it's all about, so we can make a determination whether we feel the public should know about it or not. We don't know anything except some verbiage. I don't accept this.
Yeah, I'd just like to add on that too. I voted in favor of it, but we did have substantial public comment on the application, and a lot of that public comment was about the traffic flow on the site. I think I'd be more in favor of opening this up so we can have comments from the public.
Yeah, I mean, there's safety with people walking across wherever traffic's going to be. It should be out to the public.
That's fine. It's up to you guys, whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter because we'll be able to notice it for the next meeting. They're asking you to do it tonight. They're going to make the presentation in 2 weeks. We have time. So,
Okay, I got two people not in favor of that. I don't know if anyone wants to speak in favor of it or wanted to put up a motion we could vote on. You guys tell me. Mr. Tedesco.
Yeah, I agree with the comments that have been made. Two commissioners want to have the public hear about it. I support them.
Okay. So then no one wants to put up a motion or speak in favor of it. We're just gonna let it go, and they have enough time to
right.
put us up on the public hearing, correct?
No problem. Yep.
Okay. Special permit application, Deborah Anastasio, 358 Green Hill Road.
Hold
What are we
on.
doing?
Let me get to that. Yeah, that's a cottage food operation. So you've done a few of these with public hearing. It's, no big deal. So I don't know much about it. I'll write a staff report on you for see you in 2 weeks. Okay.
Perfect.
Scheduling that for the 26th.
I'm sorry, Marilyn.
Oh,
was
no,
that-
we got to go to May 10th because of special notice. Marilyn, you're right about that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, let me go back to under our communications. We're gonna have a discussion on the storage and warehouses up in the interchange zone. It was originally brought in by Bizzuto's for their piece, but we had talked about it before. I think everybody got in their packet in that Muldrow report and our POCD that we wanted to do something. And Bill has written up a quick narrative on the proposal, and I guess if you want to.
Well, just briefly, I mean, I put a little bit more elaborate than what was originally been submitted to us for our consideration by an outside applicant. We spent a little time on this, and it's to enable warehouse distribution facilities. We tried to frame it a little bit. I know you had some concerns. And by the way, what I'm going to do tonight is tell you what it is. I'm not really wanting to do a big discussion on it now. I'd like you all to read it carefully because you haven't really had much time with it. Send me some comments if you wish or questions. We can put it on as a distinct item at the next meeting. But I just want you to know the framework of it was to really try to advance this. It would apply to the properties that are zoned in the interchange in the 4 quadrants, which we talk a little bit about in the memo to you. We're proposing to allow warehouse distribution. We're proposing servicing to enable servicing there, which you should expect if you're going to enable large warehouse distribution facilities. Somebody's going to want to service their vehicles there. And then we talk about that they can have temporary parking there that doesn't necessarily have to be paved because a lot of it will just be for vehicle storage. We talked about also modifying the setback requirement for loading areas, which is much greater in the interchange zone than it is in any other zone, including the industrial zones and what that would mean. So you guys want to ask me any questions now? I'll try to answer them, but I was really just wanted to introduce it. I know we had some sentiment about advancing the proposal anyway, or a proposal like that anyway. It puts you, frankly, in a stronger position now if you're going to advance it on your own. We would have to hold a public hearing on it. We would have to, start over again in terms of timing. We'd have to enable the regional agencies to look at it for 35 days. But we could move it forward as quickly as you would like to, in whatever form you feel is appropriate. And I'd be happy to discuss the specifics with the commission. If you guys want to, like I said, email me questions and we can share what your questions are and any responses with everybody before the commission, or we could just bring it out into discussion whenever you're ready. So.
Can I ask a quick one?
Sure.
I love everything. I love almost everything about it. I'm just curious why, and you don't have to answer me tonight, but why? I understand the servicing of the company's vehicles. What I don't understand is an outside owner that would be bringing merchandise to this site or taking away from the site, what the need would be for the repairs to be done or servicing to be done on their trucks.
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. Let's say let's say it was a grocery operator that was doing this and somebody brought a truckload of avocados in, that's a refrigerated truck and they needed to have servicing done on that. Why couldn't the servicing be done there? Why couldn't the servicing company, which hopefully that building gets built in Cheshire sometime soon, why couldn't they come and service it on that site? And why not enable them to have more efficiency that way? That's all. So it's about creating efficiencies. That's why I did that. It doesn't mean anybody else, nobody's delivering to that site or picking up from that site. They wouldn't have any ability to come in there and get servicing. But it's really meant to create efficiencies for trucks that may be outside trucks that may be delivering specifically to the site or picking up from the site. And they may have some service need that's a quick service need that can be done there efficiently. And that's why I left it there that way.
I don't know. We could talk about that. I don't know. I don't know if I like that. I mean, especially when in part here, if I'm reading this correctly, where you got notified by the Department of Motor Vehicles that if they're servicing their own vehicles, no problem. But if they start servicing these other vehicles that are owned by other companies, now they need a state repairs permit.
Yep.
That's kind of just throws me off a little bit. I like everything about it except that.
Well, that's just a state requirement though, EJ. I'm surprised that you don't need a repairs permit to fix your own vehicles, because the repairs permit has, make sure you maintain your waste products, your oils, your hydrocarbons. That the repairs permit includes monitoring and storing and handling those items properly. So I'm surprised that DMV doesn't require everybody to have a license anyway. That's my take on that. So
what's happening now, here, I just like to say something quick before. What happens now also is you have out-of-state vendors are coming in and servicing vehicles on the property, and then they have no ability to be enforced by Department of Motor Vehicle Department or by they're out of state. So it gets very sticky with the servicing. I mean, stuff like that's going on now that we just don't discuss, but that's going on now. So they have people from New York, Rhode Island, Massachusetts coming down and servicing vehicles. I mean, due to the Amazon craze, a lot of people, contractors are coming from out of state into Connecticut and then servicing those kind of vehicles on different properties. So something we got to address.
There's a back door for that.
There's a back door. It's ridiculous.
Bill?
yeah,
But isn't this, and I'm not necessarily against this, I'm just asking, is this financially beneficial to the owner of the property? They get to do additional repairs and there's revenue with that, is there not?
well, I would say, Lou, if you were bringing your load of avocados in from Florida and you got your vehicle needed servicing while you're here and there was a charge for it, I would suspect that they wouldn't do it for nothing. And how that gets executed financially, I don't know, but you're paying for the service, obviously, sure.
Right, but there must be a reason for doing this. I mean, other than, somebody comes in with a flat tire, I guess you fix their flat tire, but
Yeah,
that's not what we're talking about, right? We're talking about some perhaps routine maintenance that they happen to be able to time it with a delivery to this particular location. I mean, again, I'm not against that. I'm just wondering if it's something that's financially beneficial to the property owner. That's something I think we could reasonably factor in.
sure. I'm sure it's financially beneficial to them. And I really wasn't even considering that either way. Because I looked at it as something that you're going to expect to hear a request for. And that it would create some efficiency in terms of the overall operation. So,
Okay.
I mean, Lou, if they don't get it serviced there, they're going to take it somewhere else and pay for it. Right?
But that's the law. That's what you're supposed to do.
Go to a
That's the
certain-
law. That's why you have a dealer's repairs license, because then you're regulated. If you make it loose, now you're saying to the people that own the property that they could actually have a bunch of repairs there, and they're all legal repairs because there's no way to warranty it because there's no enforcement. The dealer repair only can enforce if it's a legal repair license. or a dealer's license. So that's the problem you lie. I mean, if they're in-house repairing their vehicles, that's one thing. If they're allowing anybody else that does not own the vehicle, the minute they bring it outside the scope, it's wrong. It's a.
But we're not proposing that, Sean. Sean,
Yeah,
this,
I know, but
this,
it's
this
loose.
amendment does not propose outside vehicles that aren't in some way either delivering or dropping off in some way connected to the operation. It's not
If the
proposing that.
operator owns the vehicle, he cannot service the vehicle. That's what it comes down to. So, I mean, if he comes in from California with the avocados and the reefer breaks, he's got to bring it off the property and get it serviced at the reefer place down the street that we approved.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's the legal rate, because the reefer guy is going to be licensed, insured, and if there's a problem with the reefer, if the reefer blows up at the other thing, this other guy that came in, he might not have the insurance to cover the problem. So I mean, it's a very loose, it's a loose slope. I mean, for me, I mean, you know, I mean, I know enough about repair licenses to know that there's a lot of people that don't have a repair license that do repairs that are not regulated by the state, and then it turns into a problem. I don't want that.
We're not proposing that.
But that's not what we're talking about. I think what the report says was that if they're going to do that for anybody else except their own vehicles, they will have to get the repairer's
Right.
license and then be regulated.
Yeah, but it's like I said, if the guy's delivering to them, they don't own that trailer. I mean, if they own the trailer coming in, they have to own the equipment. The company has to own the equipment for them to work on it. That's how it should be.
Well, we can discuss it further, but that's not,
Right.
that you wouldn't need the state permit to work on your own vehicles. as-
No, and that's how it should be. But an outside vendor, yes.
Sean, I
They
happen
need
to agree
to
with
be
you.
licensed.
I don't know why we would want, we can talk about this later. I don't
Yeah,
understand.
no, I agree.
It's anyone that delivers, it's not part of the company get work done, and I don't know.
It's there because I'm going to tell you, you should expect it, that you'd get a request to have it there, okay? And you decide what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's going to be up to you guys. I'm just telling you what the reality of the marketplace is, guys, okay? Go ahead, Rob.
The unpaved parking, is that just for trailers or is that for tractors too?
No, it would be primarily for trailers, because the tractors we worry about, hydrocarbons leaking out of them and so forth, but yeah, mostly trailers.
So, I know that we talked about this before. So this being one of the gateways into Cheshire, would this still be a special permit where we'd have
Yep.
control and oversight over the look of the exterior of the property?
Yep. It's all meant to be by special permit. It says that in the memo.
Okay. I just want to clarify, make sure. And I got to say, right now, listening to Sean and EJ talk about that, I agree. I think we're gonna have a big discussion around other folks using that to get their repairs done.
Yeah.
Up to you guys. I put it there because you're going to expect somebody else is going to ask you for it. Okay.
Okay, anything else to come before the commission tonight?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. With that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Well, Mr. Kaderis, second by Mr. Picato. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.